Tonight, Emily Finn is here with each candidate's plan to address crime in America. Emily, let's start there.
Hey, Marky. Well, cracking down on crime in the U.S. is a key issue for the candidates, and we're expecting to hear tonight more about those plans at our NewsNation GOP primary debate. Many of them do have similar ideas on how to address this problem, and they have more to do with addressing mental health rather than removing guns from the streets. Now, when you look at Ron DeSantis' record as governor of Florida, he actually implemented laws allowing residents in the Sunshine State to carry concealed weapons without a permit. The idea is those living in Florida will be able to protect themselves from violent crimes if they're armed. He's also relaxed laws on capital punishment, ending unanimous jury recommendations for the death penalty. Over to former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. She also supports open carry, and her plan is to address crime, including increased funding for mental health rather than legislation to crack down on guns. During her time serving as governor of South Carolina, Haley implemented programs to prepare prisoners for life after incarceration to help them readjust back to society. And entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy has proposed putting an emphasis on funding mental health programs as well. He's even suggested bringing back involuntary commitment to psychiatric facilities in order to combat violent crime. Ramaswamy's plan goes as far as withholding federal funds from cities with relaxed policies on crime and completely shutting down the ATF. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie agrees, promising to tackle our nation's mental health crisis before cracking down on gun control. He says he does not support an assault weapons ban and wants to make involuntary commitments easier too. President Trump says his plan is to focus on supporting law enforcement officers rather than funding for social services. So a little bit different here. He's vowed record funding to hire and retrain police officers if he is reelected. President Trump also believes the nation's drug problem is behind high rates of violent crime and has proposed deploying the U.S. military to fight the drug trade, even supporting the death penalty for dealers.
Finn is here with a look.
Adrian, we're looking at a couple different plans here. Abortion has been a headache for Republicans, sending them back to the drawing board time and time again to reevaluate their messaging. But ahead of tomorrow's Republican primary debate on NewsNation, here's where the candidates stand on reproductive care. President Trump is still dominating the GOP primary field with 60% support in the polls, but he's been dancing around the topic, refusing to say if he advocates for a federal abortion ban. Mr. Trump says he does support exceptions for rape or incest, and touts appointing 3 conservative justices while in office, which led to the Supreme Court's decision to make abortion a state's issue. Now, the only woman left in the race, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, has what some voters tell us is the most winnable stance on abortion. While she is unapologetically pro-life in her personal life, Haley says it's essential to compromise with pro-choice supporters, calling for Republicans to stop, quote, demonizing the issue. Recently, she said she would have signed a 6-week abortion ban while serving as South Carolina's governor if that's what the voters decided. But according to former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, he believes there's no national consensus on a 6-week abortion ban. During his first campaign for president, that was back in 2015, Christie actually endorsed abortion access up to 20 weeks. He also supports leaving the decision up to the states. Now, during last month's elections, NewsNation caught up with entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy as he voted on an abortion measure in his home state of Ohio. Ramaswamy voted against a proposal protecting reproductive rights up until the point of fetal viability, which we know is around 22 to 24 weeks, and that proposal went on to pass in Ohio. Ramaswamy also supports a 6-week abortion ban, but he's adamant that reproductive rights is a state's decision. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is taking a bit of a different approach here, saying that he would support a federal ban on abortion at 15 weeks. But after Roe v. Wade was overturned, DeSantis actually signed a 6-week abortion ban in Florida, leaving voters questioning where his heart really lies on this issue.
Immigration. Emily Finn with more on that this morning. Hey, Emily.
Hey, Marky. Well, this is certainly going to be an exciting night for NewsNation. But when we look at our latest NewsNation Decision Desk HQ polling, 52% of Republican voters say they want border security to be the GOP's top priority. 46% of them saying building a border wall would be the most effective policy lawmakers could implement to secure the border and prevent illegal immigration. And that's exactly what Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is proposing. If he is elected, that's what he wants to do. He wants to finish constructing a border wall and send in the U.S. forces to Mexico to fight drug cartels. Cracking down on those employing and issuing identification cards to undocumented immigrants is also part of DeSantis' plan, as well as ending birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley is proposing that we close the border altogether. Her plan includes defunding sanctuary cities like Chicago and New York, where busing of migrants from states like Texas has been draining city resources. Haley also wants to divert federal funds to CBP, something that border agents have been asking for in recent years. For Vivek Ramaswamy, his proposal includes bringing back the Remain in Mexico policy from President Donald Trump's administration. And he also agrees with DeSantis on ending birthright citizenship and proposes sending troops to the border. Now, for former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, he's also in line with DeSantis and Ramaswamy on using the U.S. military to address the migrant crisis by sending the National Guard to the border. But he also says President Trump is more to blame than President Biden for failed immigration policies. Now, as for the former president, he continues to tout how his administration prioritized border security during his term in office. But this time around, he says he plans to use military funds to implement, quote, the largest deportation operation in U.S. history. With the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas, Trump has also suggested implementing travel bans on anyone from the Gaza Strip, Libya, Syria, and anywhere else that threatens our security.
Emily Finn joins us now to break it all down. Hey, Emily.
Hey, Marky, certainly is a major concern. According to our latest NewsNation Decision Desk HQ polling, a whopping 92% of Americans say that they're concerned about inflation, and more than half listed as their number one issue. As the four candidates prepare for tomorrow's debate on NewsNation, here's where they stand on the issue. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis simply calls his economic plan, "We win, they lose." His focus is on, quote, beating the elites and prioritizing the working man, the middle-class families who say that inflation is taking a hard hit to their wallets. His goal is to achieve 3% economic growth by keeping taxes low and slashing government spending. But for former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, she says her freedom plan will return America to pre-pandemic spending and has been critical of the trillions of dollars spent by President Trump during the pandemic. Haley also plans to eliminate the federal gas tax and collapse tax brackets to combat inflation. Vivek Ramaswamy's plan, on the other hand, includes going after the Federal Reserve. He says that he will slash their workforce by 90%. He's also proposing a cryptocurrency plan as an alternative for centralized finance. He has his eyes set on a lofty goal of achieving more than 5% GDP growth and wants to stabilize the U.S. dollar. Now, as for former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, his economic plans still remain relatively vague. He wants to cut spending and reduce regulations, but he hasn't provided too many specifics. Christie says he wants to rein in our national debt, touting his ability to reduce New Jersey's budget deficit while he was governor. But let's not forget the elephant in the room here. President Donald Trump is still far ahead in the polls as the top choice for Republican voters. He has 60% support right now. He's the only candidate that can run on a presidential economic record, claiming that he had the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years prior to the pandemic. Trump says that he will reinvigorate his America First agenda, promising to phase out Chinese imports and implement more tariffs. He also says he will lower interest rates and lower taxes if he is reelected. Adrian and Markey.